Welcome everybody to this JuiceIT session, which is called Transform Your Meetings with Teams Room and Surface Hub. My name's Phil Clapham and I'm presenting here from my Surface Hub in Sydney. Frank?
Hey, I'm Frank Buchholz. I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Surface Marketing team, and I am in Kirkland, Washington, the United States. And it's a great opportunity for us to show world collaboration using MTR and Microsoft Surface Hub.
Thank you, Frank. This is a two-continent presentation, so a couple of things we're going to cover off today, and that we feel is very important to understand the landscape that is both Team Room System and Surface Hub. The first one is security, and we got a lot of questions around security of Teams Room Systems. I shouldn't call it MTR, I should call it Teams Room Systems, and Surface Hub. So we're going to cover off a bit on that. Simplicity of use. And we're going to demonstrate simplicity of use in a coordinated join. Value for money. A lot of times we get questions around, what should I buy? Should I buy a Surface Hub because I'm looking to do video conferencing on Teams, or should I buy Team Room Systems? And we'll probably get a few questions on that at the end. The other thing we're going to cover off is just around Teams adoption and how these devices drive general Teams adoption. We think of the Teams application on the desktop and the reasons why people should create Teams, and we drive adoption of that platform using the meetings modality, which is both inherent in Surface Hub and the Team Room System.
Awesome.
Okay, Frank, let's jump into a demo, and perhaps we'll start with a coordinated join, and perhaps just explain what you have in a room.
Yeah, absolutely, Phil. So I've been giving demos out of my basement here in Kirkland, Washington since the beginning of the pandemic. So my wife slides some food under the door every once in a while, and I'm here to give these demonstrations. In fact, we give a weekly demonstration. So if you want to see more of what we provide, either myself or a coworker, Chris Luce, we provide a weekly demo, and we'll be able to provide you a resource where you can sign up. It's a 90-minute demo, much more in depth towards what we have. So Phil and I are going to show you a little teaser towards that. Now, in my room, not only behind me do I have the big, beautiful 85-inch Surface Hub, but I also have a Microsoft Teams room. And I have a Microsoft Teams room hooked up in a very unique way. I actually have a Microsoft Teams room here hooked up to a Surface Hub. It's probably the worst case use of a Surface Hub. This is a $9,000 US device, but I'm acting as just an LCD. The reason I do this is I want to be able to show some dual functionality between showing a Microsoft Teams room, and then I can actually change the source control on the device to actually show the device running Windows 10 Pro or Enterprise as well. But in this case, I'm just going to show it off as using a Microsoft Teams room, so I'm just going to use it as a simple display. Microsoft Teams room very much geared towards presentation as well as video teleconferencing through Teams. And then connected to my space that I have in here, I have a 85-inch Surface Hub. Now, in many cases, you're going to find that you're going to want to have both of these types of devices in one space. You may decide, no, I just need a room for presentation as well as video teleconferencing, or no, I just need a room for collaboration and co-authoring, which is what the Surface Hub brings. But often you're building a executive meeting space where you'll want to have both. You'll want to have gallery view on the Teams side in the Microsoft Teams room, and as well as collaboration capability and being able to see essentially who you're collaborating with. So let's go ahead and show you. We have a technology built into Teams called Coordinated Meeting. Coordinated Meeting means that there's a trust between these two devices. And there's no way better to show this to you than to actually just go ahead and demonstrate it. I can walk up to either one of these devices and hit Join Meeting, one-touch join. And what you'll notice is not only does the Surface Hub join the call, but the Microsoft Teams room will join the call as well. And so you'll notice that this coordinated meeting takes place where when one device joins the meeting, the other joins the meeting as well. And maybe Phil can actually explain the difference of how we balance the camera, speaker, and microphone when we're doing such a thing.
Yeah, so just before we get there, Frank, maybe you just want to move your camera up a little bit better. One of the things I think we need just to talk about is the MTR landscape very briefly, because it is there is quite a difference in devices and operating systems. Frank at the moment is using a system that's based on Windows. It's a full Teams Room system, and what distinguishes it as a Teams Room system that's running Windows, which is Windows 10 IoT Enterprise, is the fact that he's got a separate touch screen, camera, speaker, mic, compute. There we go, we're into the coordinated join. Whereas what I'm holding here is an actual collaboration bar. And this is an all-in-one unit. This happens to be a Poly X30 that's based on Android. Now, there's almost feature parity between these two different devices. This would kind of probably be more used in a smaller type of space that you just want to be able to kit out really quickly. So you take this unit, you pop it on top of a screen, you add a touch panel to it, and you've got your team room system. And it sort of lends itself to that simplicity of use and also value for money. The way Frank's got his team room set up is obviously a rather expensive way to use a Surface Hub. We perhaps don't encourage that, but what Frank is running is a full team room system. Now, let's just talk a bit about the when you actually do a coordinated join, what is actually happening. So there's an implicit trust between the Surface Hub and the team room system that when either of them joins, it will initiate the call on vice versa on each device and join them in. But the Surface Hub will join with its camera, speakers, and mic all muted, so that all you have is the whiteboard. And on the audio and video side, that's all driven by the team room system. One of the reasons we sell a lot of team room systems and customers are very interested in is because of the large amount of vendors. Large is not the right word. The variety of vendors that are out there give us incredible choice around the types of cameras, the microphones, the speakers for all these different types of rooms that we actually have that we need to implement for, whether it's a small room, focus huddle room, medium-sized room, large room, boardroom, even to the amphitheater size. All those different audio video combinations allows us to kit all these types of rooms, where the Surface Hub is king of collaboration. And let's actually go and take a look at some of the collaboration capabilities that now we're in a coordinated join. Again, this is a collaboration bar all in one unit. Let's just talk about the whiteboard on the Surface Hub, Frank.
Yeah, so before we jump into the whiteboard though, I want to actually show you how I can get to my content. Because Surface Hub is so well integrated with essentially the Office 365 experience, I often want to get to my content, my Word, PowerPoint, and Excel files. I'm going to share my screen at this point so I can actually show you on the Surface Hub what this looks like. So on the Surface Hub, I'm presenting my whiteboard, but if I was to come down to the device and actually go into what's called My Meetings and Files, and then click Sign In, what I'll do is I'll get on the screen, it will actually show me a pick list of people that are invited to this meeting that Phil and I are in right now. Now, if I scroll up, I see that there's a person in here called Jane Demo. Jane Demo is the person that I'm going to pretend to be for the next couple minutes. I go ahead and just identify myself in the pick list. I hit Jane Demo, and then I hit Continue. And when I hit Continue, what happens is normally you would be prompted for a password, but on a Surface Hub, you don't want to type your password into a screen where maybe people can see the number of characters you're typing or even the password itself. Instead, I want to use a way through multi-factor authentication through Azure Active Directory. Now that's a mouthful that you don't need to remember, but what that really means is use Jane's phone and the Microsoft Authenticator app to sign in instead of using the password on the screen. So here I hit send notification. And on my phone, I actually get a identifier in the Microsoft Authenticator app, and I see an 11 on the screen, and then I see an 11 on my iPhone. I hit the 11, and then I hit my fingerprint on my iPhone as a second form factor of authentication. And when that happens, it automatically starts logging me into the device without prompting me for any other passwords or any other information that I have to type into the screen. Now, a couple things are happening here. I actually achieve what's called single sign-on onto the device, where it allows me to, in this case, log me into any other application like Word, PowerPoint, or Excel without having to log back in and type in any username or password. So if I was to now go into the Surface Hub and open up, say, a Word file or a PowerPoint, now I'm able to get to my Office 365 content very smoothly because of that. And then what you'll notice is it pulls up my most recent files out of Office 365, as well as my schedule of different events that I can join. So now this device is essentially mine until I give it up by hitting end session at the end of the session. Now at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Phil so he can show you another very unique way that you can sign into the device as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and be able to allow Phil to show it as well.
Thanks, Frank. So passwordless authentication makes for a really good demo. Not all customers have implemented passwordless authentication in their tenancies or in their environments. So there is an alternative way that you can securely sign in, and that's using one of these. This happens to be a YubiKey. It's a 502 USB key that it's kind of the one of the most secure ways you can authenticate yourself to the Surface Hub. So I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. Again, very similar in methodology. Now, I'm not invited to this meeting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just select, type my name in, do a quick filter, and it should find me from the directory. There I am. Frank has got my name in there. Now it's asking me to sign in with a security key. I'll take my security key, I'll pop it into the USB port, and it's going to ask me for my PIN. I'll type my PIN in, and then because this is a YubiKey, when I hit OK, it's going to just ask me to touch the device, and then it should sign me in. And I'll have the same type of functionality as Frank is. Now that I've signed in as me, as I've identified myself, it's going to allow my the rest of the Surface Hub, all the apps that I have access to, it will all be passwordless sign-in for all those different apps. And of course, at the end of the session, when I end the session, all tokens are wiped. It gets reset back to square one. Now, Frank, before we go and start to use the whiteboard, let's just talk about the whiteboard capability on the Team Room system as well, because I get a lot of questions around, you know, this is very nice. I really like to use the whiteboard. I'm not necessarily going to have a hub. I might even be mounting the MTR to the wall in the meeting room. What whiteboard options do I actually have at this moment?
So within the Microsoft Teams room, is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Microsoft Teams room uses the same whiteboard that is actually built into it is the Microsoft whiteboard. So it is essentially a functionality that I can do the same type of whiteboarding across the board. Okay. Maybe you have other information that you can share about.
So we do have customers that have traditional whiteboards as well. We do have the option to add a content camera. This is some really cool technology. Sure. Some AI that's built into the whiteboard app, that you can have a separate camera. You've got your main front-facing camera, which is going to focus in the room, and you've got a content camera that will sit and sort of frame the whiteboard, the analog whiteboard you're going to use with your typical pens, and it'll capture that and it'll put it into the digital whiteboard as digital ink. Yeah. Now we can actually show what digital ink looks like on the whiteboard here. So let's just, do you want to do a share session, Frank?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen again, and this time I'm going to share. So I'm going to take over the screen one more time. And one of the things that I want to do is you'll notice that when I come into the whiteboard, I want to make sure I confirm that I'm Jane Demo, and it'll sign me in, but it doesn't prompt me for passwords or other pieces of information, but it sets me up so that I can create a new whiteboard. And when I create this new whiteboard, one of the things that I want to do is I want to invite Phil to come join me on this whiteboard as well. So in real time, we're actually going to do this live. And so I'm going to type in Phil, and I'm just going to write it on the screen, and it goes out, it looks at my corporate directory and is able to find Phil, hopefully in our list of suggested contacts. There it is. And then I go ahead and hit invite at the bottom of the screen. And then now Phil, if he's logged into his whiteboard, he can now go in and he'll actually see that there's a invite. So Phil's going to share his screen and show you what that experience looks like on his side.
Yeah, so again, it's going to prompt me. I'm just going to, because I've already signed, I've already identified myself, it's going to automatically sign me in, and I should get to see once they all load up. I presume it's the latest one.
Yeah, it's the one that says join this whiteboard.
There you go.
There it is.
Now, what I'm going to do is I actually have a presentation I gave earlier about the difference between MTR and a Team Room system, I should say, in Surface Hub. There we go, Frank. So this is I've got a quick table in here which shows the differences between the OS and vendors, basis, price, monitoring, and management. So you can see I've got a couple of I'll just circle this. There's a couple of MTR trigger things that the salespeople need to look out for. If the customer starts talking about modern management, Intune, or autopilot, that might be Surface Hub. And if they're looking around Surface or VC interop, that might be MTR. And of course, Frank can annotate across the top of this as well as he's doing. at the top of the screen here. Maybe if I move this down, you can see it. Yep, Surface Hub 2S. And here we were able to use the whiteboard in a collaborative manner across 2 continents to generate content which can be saved in perpetuity. Now, one of the things that I personally use the whiteboard for, and remember, this app is available on Surface Hub. I like it. I like using the Surface Hub because there's lots of real estate, right? So I've got lots of ideas, complex ideas in my head. I'm a visual learner. I might use the hub in a different way to the group collaboration scenario. I might just use it as me, as an individual, and actually use it for mind mapping. So a lot of times I've got complex ideas, things that I'm working on. I'll dump them out onto the Surface Hub and arrange them in a mind map, which sort of makes it easier for me to figure out how to solve a problem. Then I might invite somebody like Frank, who can then review what I've done, add his ideas, and you've got this ideation canvas that can build really quickly from an individual all the way into a group. And remember, you can do this on the MTR just as you can on the hub. I like it in the hub because of the real estate, but it's possible to use this across devices because it's made for all sorts of different platforms. All right.
How about I share at this point and actually show a PowerPoint?
Yes, let's do that, Frank.
So I'm going to, we're going to switch back and forth just to show you the experience. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. First, you'll notice that the first thing on my screen is the exact same thing that Phil was showing. So we each had our own independent versions of this shared content that was stored in the cloud. But what I really want to do is I want to come out to here, and I actually want to go to PowerPoint. And so I'm going to go into PowerPoint on the device. And because I am able to achieve single sign-on, I, again, don't need to log into PowerPoint. It'll pull up all my most recent files. And here's actually one called Phil and Frank. That seems like a good one for Phil and Frank to actually choose. And so I'm going to choose that one and bring that up onto the screen. In the same time, Phil's actually going to be bringing up this PowerPoint on his side, and we're going to show co-authoring between Photoshop on our PowerPoint on the device. So I'm going to make this full screen, and so you'll see that we're able to now bring in this content. But one of the things that Phil is already able to do was he's able to actually add that content. And Phil, maybe this is actually from a previous one. Maybe you actually might want to erase the one that we have here and actually post in the whiteboard that we actually just created. How about we try that out?
Yeah, let me just pull up so on my side, I'm just opening PowerPoint as well. Sorry, I probably should have done that a little earlier, Frank, but
well, yeah. I'm going to help you out. I'm going to erase this content first.
Do that. And
so if you want to just go into the actual whiteboard and then paste in the content that we have from the whiteboard that we just did, it should be able to have a nice session here. So
just copying that right now.
All right. And so the value here is that we can work on this same PowerPoint together across the continents of Australia to the United States in this case, and be able to actually collaborate on different content, not just within whiteboarding, but actually co-author within PowerPoint as well. I keep wanting to say Photoshop, but it's not. So.
All right, can you see that, Frank? That's just me pasted that in right there.
All right, should just take just a second and it should show up. Oops. Oh, you're sharing your screen now. Yeah, okay, great.
We'll come back to a second.
Yeah, no, great. Yeah, why don't you? That's awesome. So now Phil's just showing that he was able to add the content to his screen, and I see that exact same PowerPoint addition on my side, so that it shows through the power of the cloud. We're both able to add content simultaneously and work on this diagram together. So I'm going to go ahead and add something to my document as well. So I can come in here.
Now we might use this as the basis of some of the handouts that we create for the audience that's on this call, and we'll get back to Kerry to be able to hand this content out once we're finished with it.
Yeah, awesome. So at this point, I'm going to hang up from my Surface Hub, because when I hang up from my Surface Hub, not only will it hang up from my Surface Hub, but it will actually hang up from my Microsoft Teams room as well. And so the value is we're able to come all the way back to the beginning of the session, where now if I hit end session, the device will actually be cleaned of all of my passwords and all of my information that I used in order to authenticate to the device. The device actually goes through a scrub at this point and resets all of the application. All the information that we put into the whiteboard as well as the PowerPoint are all removed from the device, and I can walk away with confidence knowing that I didn't leave anything on the device, and somebody can just walk up and use the device just like I did. So what do you think of that, Phil?
It's awesome. You know, Frank, the Surface Hub is a bit of a labor of love for me, as is the MTR. I just want to maybe finish. There's a couple of things that we've shown here, and Frank and I are very skilled at being able to demonstrate this. And you may be sitting there thinking, oh wow, that looks really good, but oh, how am I going to get my users trained to be able to be this level of sophistication when we're actually doing collaboration between MTR and Surface Hub? And that's one of the things that Data3 can help you out with. It's every customer is on a different stage of evolution. There are different stages of implementing Office 365, changing from Skype for Business to Teams, onboarding Surface devices, onboarding MTRs into their organization. Everybody's moving at different pace, and that's okay. Everything is an evolution in this journey. So we really are mindful of not just the devices. We don't want to just sell customers devices. We want them to really be used in the way that they were designed. That goes for MTR, it goes for Surface Hub. Even if you don't buy a Surface Hub and just use MTR, people need to be trained. Okay, it's very important that when you conduct meetings that they're conducted well. Team room systems provide a great hardware level and experience for that meeting, but you may need your hand held just initially to be able to adopt it correctly, and that's something we're willing and prepared to do at Data3.
Absolutely, Phil.
So
that's why we love partners like Data3, because we're able to take products like we have here from coming out of Redmond, Washington, and be able to spread them throughout the world. And great partners like Phil and Data3 are able to deliver amazing training and amazing adoption. I always say, hey, when I get a new phone, I have the comfort of sitting on my couch and learning how to use it. But Surface Hub, it's a little bit more daunting. But companies like Data3 and Phil can come in and make that much easier for you.
So I'm sure there may be lots of questions. We'll get the questions posted. We'll get answers to those questions. Once again, my name's Phil Clapham. Frank
Buckholz out from Redmond.
And on that happy note, thank you for your attendance. And if you've got any further questions, just ask your local Data3 rep, or you can email me directly. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.